is part 2 of my get to know me video. I'm gonna just try to jump right in because I don't want to waste too much time. And I don't know how many parts there's gonna be. It depends how many I can get through on this list without rambling too much and talking your ear off. So let's jump on in. So part 1, I covered, if you didn't see it, I covered some facts about me in the sense of how I was in high school, what kind of career path I was taking in the sense of majoring in college, so my state of residence, traveling the world, how I don't really like traveling very much, although I want to stay more in the US, and maybe go to a log cabin someday. And, you know, just some of my dreams as well as some of my advocacy kind of stuff. And I want to talk more about advocacy in this video as well as make a separate video just on advocacy in the future. And I also talked a little bit about what I wanted to be when I grew up and something else that I totally just forgot, but I totally mentioned in that video. Yeah, I talked about photography and creative writing, so that is how that. So, this video, I'm going to do it a little bit, I'm going to add a little more to it, and a little bit more about getting to know me, and I'm also going to try to cover why I'm making this video to begin with. So, my next up, again, hi, I'm Raquel. I don't usually say that, but that is my name. R-A-Q-U-E-L. I had a kindergarten teacher who used to spell my name with a C. R-A-C-Q-U-E-L, but that's not how you spell it. So, yes. I want to talk a little bit first about kind of more about me before I go into diagnoses and like my channel and things like that. So to kind of humanize myself and like not be like identified as a diagnosis in a sense and not be labeled in that way. So my favorite color, okay. I got into, especially when I was like drawing, right? So I got into creating again, like drawing pictures and stuff, when I started struggling with my mental health, when I was in the first hospitalization, I think, or at least one of the first ones, I think the first one. So I started drawing like a little sketchbook, so I used a lot of like ink, just like blue ink and black ink, and then over time, in my recovery, I got really into color. So my favorite color, honestly, is the rainbow, and I really like the 7-colored rainbow, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, because it kind of fits, it goes around in a circle. I will accept 6 or 5 colored rainbows, but anything less than 5, I'm like, that's not a rainbow. So don't even come at me with your not a rainbow attempt, you know? So I like rainbows. I like color and like glitter and like scented stuff and like things like that. I also really love stationery. I was actually watching back, I was answering a bunch of old messages that apparently I never answered from like 2 to 3 years ago, and I was like, how did that happen? Because some of them I liked and some of them whatever, but apparently I never answered them, but I did today. So I was answering some of those. I love stationery. I have still so much stationery. I enjoy to-do lists and like planners and like just things like paper and like cards, gel pens, artsy like markers and watercolor stuff and all of that. I love all of that a lot. And like page flags. Page flags are really good, especially. And I used to really love the Target dollar spot, but now they don't have as much stationery, which is really sad. So I have to go places like, I was actually talking about this before, I have to go to like Christmas Tree Shop, which has a good amount, and like Staples, and Marshall's, TJ Maxx. I also love journals a lot. I have so many journals, varying degrees of actually finishing them. And I have planners. I have done unboxing of my Tools for Wisdom planner. I like the Tools for Wisdom ones. I actually really need to utilize more of the SMART goals area of them, but I haven't done that. And what else? I also enjoy adult coloring, and I also do like collage scrapbooking kind of stuff, and I also like to do filming, which is very new for me. And I only really unlocked that, like, filming, like, lots of ideas for filming, like, last year. Like, during the quarantine, like, summer, filmed, edited, uploaded, like, for, 7 weeks, something each week, and that was awesome. So I really kind of unlocked the ability to do that. So that was really cool, because I never happened before that. And I was always, you know, unstable and stuff, so I couldn't really be as much online, doing as much as I wanted to, in a sense, or really maybe thought of doing. So I'm also not a very technical person, so I don't really know how to do the editing. Like, video editing, it's not, nah, I'm like, I should try to learn more, and, like, even just learn about, like, how to save it, and, like, what kind of file, and, like, dimensions, and, like, things like that, like, the mathematical kind of aspect of it, but I don't tend to, at the moment. I said this in another video, I don't know if you'll get it up in the same timeline that I am filming this one, and hopefully uploading it, but I tried to download an old software onto my new laptop, and that didn't work, so I was really sad. So, that's about as far as I went with my new laptop. I've just been using my old laptop for editing. And I've also decided just this week that I'm going to, it is currently the 14th of January 2021, by the way, but I'm also deciding that I'm going to do 2 days a week of editing videos. Mondays and Thursdays. So that's going to be my new thing going forward. So I have to edit a video today to kind of get on top of that. But I only came up with it on Tuesday, so it wasn't like super long ago. So, that's a little bit about, that. I don't even remember what I was saying, but that was that. So okay, what's the timeline of when I started making things? Oh yes, I was talking about rainbows. Yes, that's what I was talking about. I love rainbows. Rainbows are awesome. That's a whole, like, rainbow lighthouse thing, like the 7-colored rainbow lighthouse. Instead of being white or white and red, it's a 7-color rainbow lighthouse. That's what my logo would be as well. For Recovery to Wellness, it would be that lighthouse. I just don't know how to make it in a digital program to then have that as my logo. And my slogan is, where survivors radiate badassery. Recovery to Wellness, where survivors radiate badassery. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So, and then, let's see, I started, okay, we'll talk about advocacy, okay? So, I started getting into advocacy in diagnoses. We'll try to go in order. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Okay. Diagnosis, okay? These are my diagnoses. They've changed over time, but what I live with OCD, on self-harm and suicide obsessions, which don't signify genuine intent. It's more of an intrusive thought, and then getting distressed about the thought, trying to figure out the thought, why is it happening, why is it doing this, and then deciding, no, I don't want to act on the thought, and then the thought coming back, and then doing that again. So that's like what OCD for self-harm and suicide stuff is. For obsessions, because suicide obsessions are not the same thing as suicidal thoughts. So, OCD. Then, depression, which came up with genuine suicide thoughts, and self-harm. And then technically, even when I was only OCD, I was starting to have symptoms of depression, and then I was also, like, acting a little bit on my thoughts. Like, the thought would be extreme, like, over here, and I'd act on it, like, over here, like, it would be really small in comparison. So, OCD, depression, borderline personality disorder. Technically, I didn't quite meet all 5. Like, you have to have 5 or more of the 9 symptoms to be diagnosed with BPD. I only related to about 4 before, like, you know, way back when, back in, like, they diagnosed me with BPD back in 2017, but I didn't know that they did that at the time, and I only really identify with, like, borderline traits or borderline tendencies, but I just say BPD now because I know it's that. But, so there's that. Then, Trichotillomania, which is hair pulling. I had that the longest time, and wasn't, like, aware of it, in a sense. It didn't get bad until 2017. And then, Dermatillomania, which is skin picking, which only came up, like, in the last 2 years. Like, I never really did that before. So, that was new. And then the actual, like, genuine suicidal thoughts and, like, genuine self-harm. Although I only ever scratched myself. And I did a couple other ones too, but, like, the trich can kind of fall under that too, sometimes. So, those are the diagnoses that I have. That is all of them. I only recently accepted the fact that I have been through trauma in the hands of my mental health conditions, but I don't have PTSD. So, because I'm not diagnosed with that. And I don't think I have it anyway. So, that is another part of the video that I will get into, maybe in another part or something. But those are all the diagnoses that I live with, I believe. I think so. So, advocacy. Okay, so I was diagnosed with OCD in fall 2014. So I was in my first abnormal psych class. That was what it was called. And we had at the end of the semester, we had a NAMI presentation come in. So it was the Inner Voice program, and it's essentially where people with lived experience with mental health conditions share their story and recovery from those conditions. And it was really, really cool. It was definitely like I'm pretty sure it was the person who wound up training me for it later, who she talked about, and I always use this as a reference now, is like, I remember her saying how, like, when she struggled the most, her therapist was like, I'll hold on to hope for you until you can hold it for yourself. And that was always something that stuck with me. And it was always something that I wanted to kind of like check out. And I was like, I want to like get into like I have still the NAMI pamphlet. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, if you don't know, by the way. And I had the pamphlet, and I wrote on a sticky note, purpose. And I was like, I want to get into this. Like, I could do that. Like, you know, I could tell my story, and I can, you know, share and do that kind of thing. So I was still going through treatment, and I was getting in the hospital, and I was coming out, and I went to the OCD Institute for a while. I was doing that. That was 2015. In 2016, it was actually from a book that I have on the floor, and it was like, it's one of those like 365, you know, journal prompts kind of thing, and I stopped doing it for a while, but one of the prompts I had one day was do something, get out of my comfort zone. And so I was like, hey, what about that NAMI thing? Like, hey, I'll check it out. So in March 2016, around this time too, I think it was like a church, like a faith-based group at school that did like, oh, write on your palm like something you want to do one day, like in the next 5 years or something. And on my hand I wrote sharing my voice, like sharing my story. And I still have that picture, and it was honestly what I was able to do that year. So like, I got into advocacy in March 2016. I started writing for the newspaper at my school about mental health and about my journey with it. I also started with the NAMI, Inner Voice presentations. I got trained for it. At the time, I was the youngest person to get training for it. And it was like a 2-day training. It was a lot different back then too, because it was a different system, like a setup. But like different like sections and such, not like completely new, but like different. So, but there's like a speaking part of it, and then there's the video, and then there's opening questions for the audience to talk about and like ask questions and make comments and things to that effect. So that's how I got into advocacy that way. And then at the end of the year, well, in May 2016, I created my blog, Recovery to Wellness, which was actually inspired from a group that I made, an art group I made on DeviantArt called Recovery to Wellness, but it had like dashes in between. So I did recoverytowellness.wordpress.com. That's when I started doing that, and I did that because I wanted to get paid work for writing about mental health, but they all wanted like some sort of like, you know, history or like, you know, of having written stuff about it. So I was like, hey, I got annoyed, so I was like, I'll just make a blog, and then I'll put stuff there. So I got into that. At the end of the year, there was a person that I followed who was such a good friend of mine, and like I did a bunch of like artsy things back then and everything too. And I like doing art from like an art therapy perspective of like not judging it for good or bad. It's just kind of how it is what it is kind of thing. And like, it's about the process and like creating, and rather than like how good it is or how bad it is and being critical of it. So it's like a mindfulness art therapy perspective. That's what I largely create from, even now, or I try to, because I think I lost my way a little bit, but I try. So yes, I had a friend on WordPress who got into making videos, and I was like, oh man, I always toyed with the idea since like 2015 about making a channel, but I never did it. And then I saw my friend doing it, and I was like, oh, I want to do that too. So then that's why I started my YouTube channel at the very end of December 2016, and that's how this began. And yeah, I mean, the thing too with my channel, even with anything I post on the internet, I don't really like go back and look at it. Like I definitely have developed a lot more personal boundaries, like limits and stuff with myself, which is great. Really good for my recovery, really needed that. But like I would like to go back and look at videos and like see them and just revisit, and which I'm going to do in a new video later today. So we're gonna see how that goes. But I have like a list and stuff, and I'm gonna be careful, but also like I want to try it. And I wanted to do that for a while, but yes, that's about like why I started YouTube, was kind of because, again, I had the idea for a while, and I actually have some old footage of that, which I wanted to make into a video, so I could probably do that soon, or within this year, and that's how I got into a lot of my advocacy stuff. Like, it was really just putting the advocacy that I do in real life onto the internet, in a sense, and yeah. I could talk more about advocacy in a separate video as well. Treatment. Let's do that real quick, okay? Because I already talked a little bit about mental health. So originally I started off as a mental health channel. Nowadays I talk about my experiences, but also I don't really focus so much on mental health. Like, to me, mental health is more of a presence of darkness than light, and I view recovery as a process of more light than darkness. So I like to talk more about like recovery and like yes, some of where I've been, but more where I'm going and like what I'm doing about it now and the present moment and that kind of thing. And I do a lot of art videos too, so a lot of creating kind of stuff, time-lapse stuff, things like that, putting on music and things like all that kind of jazz and stuff like that. So like I do more of that and like hauls and like unboxings. I'm gonna do an unboxing today and things to that effect. Like, that's where I like to focus more. I think part of it, it's also, like, again, I'm gonna film, like, a new video, sort of a reaction video to an old video I have of mine that I hate. Which I hate most of them from back then. But, I can talk about that later, I suppose, like, in that video when I go to film that one. Because it's just different now. Like, things are just different. Like, in a better, healthier way. So there's that. So, let me see. What was I trying to say with that? I was trying to just say, like, I'll talk a little bit about it. So, like, there was an OCD video that I filmed, apparently back at end of 2017. I thought it was 2018, but I filmed it back in 2017, and it's my most popular video. I hate it, because I'm pretty sure I don't know if it was that video. I can't remember if it was that video or the one about depression that I did later on, like within the same time frame, or the fact that I did both of those in the same time frame. But it caused like a relapse for me in my recovery, so I really like hate that content. But I've always since maybe like even March 2018, I've wanted to go back to like watch it to see, is it really as bad as I'm remembering, or am I like inflating it in my mind somehow, or is my mind kind of playing tricks on me, things like that. So I finally am at a point where I think I can actually handle it better, and I think if I get triggered, I can like deal with it, especially because I got triggered like Monday this week, and that hasn't happened for a while. So like I think I'm in a better place like mentally, and I also have a lot of DBT skills I can use afterward to like handle it. And I know even going into these videos, I was kind of like, I want to just go do that one, and like I'm pretty sure that's the OCD kicking in. So I think I can handle it now. And I've wanted to, and I don't know if it's not necessarily as bad as I remember it being, but I just remember it being like really bad. So I want to kind of challenge myself in that sense. The other thing too was like the depression one, but I won't do that today. I'll probably do that like a week from now, depending on how the OCD one goes first. So there's that. Also, in general, I think I also, like, the way I acted in 2017, like, about my story and, like, my symptoms and stuff like that was so much different than how I do about it now. And it only really changed in 2018, unfortunately. So it's really difficult to sort of how to tell my story, because there's different avenues and aspects of it in the years since I was diagnosed that are just hard to cover, in a sense. Not like, well, kind of hard as, like, topic-wise, but also just hard because it's, like, how do I say, like, I was always like this, but I wasn't always like that. I was like this, and then I was like that, and then I was like this, and then I was like that. You know, it's just complicated. Complicated is the question. But that is kind of my, I can talk a little bit about treatments, because we're already on the topic of mental health right now. So I'll talk a little bit about treatment. So I talked about how I began my blog, so like about like wanting to get paid for writing kind of stuff. So I did that. Got into YouTube because I saw my friend doing it and I wanted to do it too. I also wanted to do it like before then. And Twitter I made in April 2017. I don't even know why I made a Twitter account. I think I made a Twitter account so I could post like when my videos were up and stuff, and like I could post like when my blog is up. Honestly, I don't remember what my first tweet was. And like even Twitter is like that too. It's like once I put something out there, I tend to forget that I put it out there, and then it's there forever. So I don't tend to think about that when I put stuff out there, but I probably should. I'll do that a little bit right here too. My favorite shopping stuff is definitely like stationery, so like to-do lists, planner type things, art stuff, so watercolors and like markers, gel pens, that kind of thing. Journals, huge one. Journals are really big. Books. I don't read them, but books. And what else? Not really clothing, but like it brings stuff a little bit. Not like a lot though. Lip gloss. Lip gloss was a big one for a little while. What else do I shop for? I was just trying to think of what I shop for. Kind of like fidget toys. I actually spent some money on some fidget toys that I'm gonna unbox when they come in. I'm gonna do one unboxing today for something that came in. And like stickers and such. Art supplies. Yeah. So those are like my favorite shopping stuff. So I'm gonna talk about right now a bit about treatment. So I've definitely had a lot of different treatment over the years. I've had therapy for sure. I've had a lot of different therapists. I actually was talking to my mom about this the other day, that I've had the same psychiatrist since like 2015, like March 2015, which is cool. And like we have a good relationship and such. So I did therapy. I did like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I did dialectical behavior therapy within the last 3 years, I suppose now. I have done ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, where they put you under and shock your brain. That was for the depression, which I think was really more OCD back then. And then in 2018 when I relapsed, it was definitely more depression based, so that's a whole weird thing. I also been to the OCD Institute. I was there for 5 weeks back in fall 2015. I have done support groups, OCD support groups. I've never been to a depression support group. I might want to try that someday. I go to like OCD support groups, and right now I'm kind of struggling with that. Medications have been helpful. Different dosages and such, but I take an antidepressant and antipsychotic. Antipsychotic for the OCD, and obviously just depressant. And then group therapy in general. I saw an OCD specialized therapist for a while, like a year and a half, and then I switched to a different therapist. Then I also did family therapy and just individual therapy. And I went to a couple day programs. I went to a long-term day program that I called Passages. That was really helpful. I did that 3 days a week for about 2 years, I guess. Yeah. And I only recently got out of that too. Like I went, the last time I was there was like June 2020. So it feels like it's been so much longer than that, but it was only June 2020. What else? Mindfulness, of course. What else have I done for treatment? I think that's pretty much it. Like art therapy kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for all my treatment and stuff. I think so. So, that is the end of this video. We have finished it. It's done. So that was some more questions and answers and getting to know me video stuff. So, I'm gonna go into the next part. I'm gonna check off which ones I managed to get done in this video, and then I'm gonna start the next part. And I think the next part will be the last part. So, we're getting closer. So, I'm gonna go do that, and we will talk about some fun things, and then I'll tell you why I made this video to begin with. So yeah, which I kind of hinted at already, but we'll do it officially. But hey, thank you for watching. I always forget that, but thank you. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, because engagement, and if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. That's okay, you can not like it, that's fine. And if you want to see more videos, subscribe to me, where I will probably never mention my name again. So, but it's Raquel, by the way. And let me know in the comments what you thought. Is there something that is surprising to you that you learned in this video, or from the first part, although I guess that has a different comment section. But what are you looking forward to in the next part? I'll actually list out some things I'm going to mention in the next part. In the next part, I'm going to mention, maybe fanfic account, and like, on .net and AO3. I will also mention my favorite TV shows, pet history, surgeries. I actually talk about quite an introvert part. 3 qualities about me, 4 of my friends online and in real life. Ooh, dream vacation. Favorite movies. Sexuality. Music. Time in recovery. And what was the thing I thought about in this video that I was like, oh, why I'm making the video? And I think that'll be it. Alright, sounds good. Okay, so, as always, stay safe, take care, be well. Much love and light to you. I will see you in the next one, which will be a few minutes from now, for me, but a while for you. So, yeah.
I can see a lighthouse through the smoke. Everything is lost, I know.
Part 2 is done. Let's get it. It's like 5 now. Got it. Okay. Tone it down a little bit.